All right, let's give a warm welcome to LeVar Burton, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, so today I'm going to start off with a couple of questions, and we're going to open up to Q&A from the audience. But first, I just wanted to ask LeVar, so what was it like to be born in Germany? How'd that life start off?
Don't remember the event. By all accounts, everything was fine.
Yeah.
Actually, my mom said I had 2 surgeries in my first 24 hours of being alive. I had she said I had a call in my face.
Because your father was in the armed forces, right? So as a child, did you travel around a lot?
Well, I mean, I was born in Germany.
Yeah.
And we went back to Germany when I was in the 3rd and 4th grade. Travel, was very much a part of my early life.
Yeah. So as you're growing up, when did you start to become interested in acting? Was this a young child or in high school years? Or when did you?
It was high school.
Yeah,
it was high school. Went to a Catholic seminary where I studied for the priesthood. Ma'am, you seem really shocked. That was indeed your outside voice. So it's okay. She said, "Oh, kind of like that, huh? Yeah. You're no more amazed than I am now." But yeah, that was my intention. And that's where I discovered theater arts at St. Pius X.
So I guess when you decided to go to college, you went to the University of Southern California, correct?
Yeah, by that time I had decided not to become a priest.
Yeah. But so when you went there, you went as an acting or theatrical major? Or how was that process? You said you had to audition, or is that like a...
I did. I had to audition. There was an audition process, an application. There was no exchange of monies from my mother to any university officials.
So you did the old-fashioned way,
I did it the old-fashioned way. And I earned a full ride, a full scholarship.
Oh yeah, awesome.
But which didn't cover room and board and books and fees.
Right. So I guess while you're in school, and obviously you're in LA.
Yes.
While you're in college, are you going out for auditions for professional?
No.
No.
You ever been to theater school?
I have not.
Well, at the University of Southern California School of Theater, actually it wasn't even a school of theater then, it was a division of drama. This is in 1974. It was just the division of drama.
Yeah.
Music had a school, the School of Music. Cinema at USC had a school. Dance had a school. Drama, not so much.
So did you have any other classmates who had successful careers like yourself that you grew up with?
Yes, Madeline Smith, who was in, I did Oklahoma with, along with the director Andy Tennant, who was Andy? Oh, he was Will Parker. And she was Ado Annie in a production of Oklahoma at USC, in which I played Ali Hakim, the Persian drug dealer. It was, in fact, the role I was doing when I got the role in Roots.
Oh, was it?
I was doing Ali Hakim. Nightly on the Bing stage. No, it was the Bovard stage. Yeah. It wasn't even Bing.
Yeah.
It was Bovard. It was on the Bovard stage.
Yeah. So obviously you mentioned Roots. That's probably your first big break.
Roots was my first professional audition.
Yeah.
When do we get to the audience participation?
Well, I'm about to get to that. Yeah. Let's give a little background.
I just feel like I'm being grilled here. I'm starting to sweat. I haven't done anything, have I?
We can certainly, if you want to go that, we can open up the audience. Any questions out there? Anybody have a question for LeVar?
Christopher! Hi! Great! Is the family here? You're by yourself?
Hi.
You have pictures? Can't wait to see them. I'm sorry. Where are you? Oh, yeah. This is my friend Christopher. I just saw him in the audience. I was talking to him until you interrupted. But you've got the microphone, so.
I have two questions.
Well, first, here are the ground rules. You get the microphone, you have to tell me your name.
Oh, my name is John.
John.
I met you 24 years ago.
I remember John.
No, you don't.
No, I don't.
I had hair.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, I never would have guessed.
I have two questions. First, 24 years ago, you were in Atlantic City. Is this the first time you moved back to southern New Jersey since then?
Yeah.
You haven't been back for anything?
Nope.
Great. And my other question
What
is...
kind of question is that, John?
Well,
what is the heart of your
the
question,
heart of the
John?
question is, to you again.
Oh, I'm happy to be here. I'm pleased as punch. Have you been outside this weekend?
I have.
Right? Awesome. Where do you live, John?
I live 5 minutes from here in Southern Spring.
And you grew up here?
A little further south.
A little further south.
Yeah.
What a community. What a blessing to be able to live in a place like Ocean City, New Jersey.
Let's come back in the summertime.
No. It's nice to live here when there were no people here. I'm not an idiot.
My other question is, what kind of directing do you plan on doing over the next year or so, and are you just directing Discovery?
I am directing almost exclusively NCIS NOLA because I love that show, and I love Scott Bakula. How could you not love Scott Bakula, right? I mean, Scott Bakula. So I direct that show, and they've written a little part for me, which I did an episode of, and I'm hoping to do more. Should the show get picked up for season 6? And I'm looking for maybe one other show to direct. With all of the other activities that I have, all the other ways I'm able to tell stories in my life and in my career, directing is one of the ones I love the most, but it's also one of the most time intensive. So.
Another question right there.
Hi, my name is Lyle.
Lyle. Hello, Lyle.
I have a question.
Shoot.
Of all the narrators I like, what was your favorite?
Narrators? Of.
Reading Rainbow.
Oh, Reading Rainbow. Oh my, wow. Wow, Lyle. Well, we had James Earl Jones bringing the brain to the beating plane. That was pretty cool. James Earl Jones doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah.
We had Vincent Gardenia read. What was it? Louis was a fish. Louis the Fish.
And
Right?
The Adventures of Taxi Dog.
And the Adventures of Taxi Dog. That's right. We had Jeff Bridges. We had so many people read those stories. I love them all. Thanks. Great question, Lyle. Nobody's ever asked me.
My favorite was Bill and Pete Go Down the Nile because it's a book review book.
Bill and Pete Go Down the Nile. Awesome. Good afternoon, Father. Welcome. You missed the setup for the joke earlier in the program. But you are the visual gag of my dreams. I was explaining to the people, Father, that I studied for the priesthood earlier in my life. And then Your Eminence walks in the door. As if to be checking on me or something.
I don't know who took the right path.
Well, I'm gonna bet on me. Because I always bet on black. Thank you!
Okay. Next question is right there.
Thank God. And you too, Father. Credit where credit's due.
Yes, it's an honor to speak with you, Mr. Burton. I have two questions, if you will. Question number one, I'm overwhelmed by the sheer amount of stage and screen talent when I watch Roots. Was it overwhelming for you as a new actor to come on that set and work with everybody from Chuck Connors to Lauren Green to Louis Gossett? I could go on and on and on.
It was terrifying. But I wasn't about to let anybody know. You know what I mean? I'd watched these people all my life on TV and movies. Cicely Tyson, my very first day as a professional actor, Cicely Tyson played my mother. And Maya Angelou was my grandmother. I mean, what? I was 19. But you know what? I felt like I had been born to play that role. I felt like I knew exactly how that kid felt. I knew exactly what he was going through. That was a blessing, major blessing in my life.
I wish I could ask 3, but I'll ask 2. My second question is, what was your reaction? Did it feel weird to go from that deep drama? And I know you've done like the Ryan LaFleur story and other things in between that and Star Trek, but how did it feel to kind of bounce from deep drama to Star Trek, which is also kind of daunting because you were the follow-up to the original series? I would guess.
Yeah, I was a big fan of the original series. Yeah, so becoming a part of Gene Roddenberry's storytelling apparatus was crazy for me, right?
Next question, hands up. There you go.
Hi, Mr. Burton. My name is Alex.
Alex?
And it should come as no surprise that my question is about Star Trek.
I'm shocked, Alex. Simply shocked.
Now that there's sort of like been a big resurgence with the series, and that they've announced that there's going to be a Picard solo series, have you...
No, just Picard. Han Solo has nothing to do with the show. I mean, that's what I read. I mean,
have you ever been approached to reprise the role of Geordi, and would you even be interested in doing it if you were approached?
No. And yes. Alex,
Question over here.
you're just gonna stand pat with that. You're just gonna. Nice.
Hello.
Hi.
My name is Ingrid,
Hi, Ingrid.
and I am a huge fan of your character in Star Trek Next Generation. It's my absolute favorite of the series, and your character just added so much. And
What is it about Geordi that you like, Alex?
Well,
Out of curiosity.
it's very personal. Your visual impairment. I have a significant visual impairment, and I love how you had the miracle every day of putting on those glasses,
Right.
and it just totally, your limitations disappeared. And it was wonderful. But what I'm really interested in
Yes, tell me.
is how those stories and working on that show may have changed or broadened your scope ideas about life on other solar systems and their potential interaction. Do you see it as something in the future or something that may be happening now? Anything you can talk about in relation to that?
I'm really clear that a lot of my worldview or universal view, galactic view, came from Gene Roddenberry's vision on a personal level, right? I mean, the idea well, first of all, the idea of infinite diversity and infinite combination, and that the point of us being here is to have respect for all life in all of its variant varieties, right? That makes sense to me, you know? Growing up a black kid in the 60s, I certainly wasn't living in a world that seemed to be welcoming all varieties of life. I didn't feel very welcome in the 60s in the United States of America. I grew up in Northern California. I saw the Vietnam War on television every day, and it was predominantly young men who looked like me who were fighting in Vietnam. I didn't want to be one of them. I was scared to go to war. I didn't want to be drafted. I didn't want to have to go fight in a foreign country for a purpose that I did not understand, nor did I agree with. It was scary times. You know, just being alive was scary. Sort of got used to our leaders being assassinated. You know, I was in elementary school when Martin and Bobby and John Kennedy were all killed. It was like, I look back on that time and I'm like, wow, that was a moment, wasn't it? Really heady times. So, yeah. Do I believe in the idea that we are not alone in this universe in terms of a state of sentience? I'd be really disappointed if we were. I don't think that we are the most evolved. If we are not indeed alone, we are probably on the low end of the totem pole in terms of our evolutionary success.
I completely agree.
We haven't bred violence out of our nature yet. We haven't let go of the need to compete and the feeling that if I have something, it means something is taken away from you. Conversely, if you have something, that means you're taking something away from me, and we need to compete over resources. That's an illusion that we just haven't been able to wrap ourselves around with. It's like, so, I'm hopeful, I'm very optimistic. I have no choice. The alternative is to become preternaturally depressed. And that's, you can't get shit done when you're depressed. So I try and stay up so I can get shit done. Yeah.
Next question, do you want over here? And good background.
I'm your contemporary of a month. I grew up at the same time as you did. We just spoke about.
What's your name?
Louise.
Louise.
So.
Class of 74?
75.
75?
I think you were a little ahead in school.
Yeah, I was class of 74. Yeah.
You maybe were pushed ahead a little.
I was, yeah. Did you know that story?
I was born in March, but you were born in February.
Yeah.
So you might have. But that's my question.
What?
My question is about education.
Sure.
And your historical view and your early upbringing.
Sure. Are you an educator?
Well, a family of educators. Everyone in the
Right.
family.
Right.
It's
the family business.
Well, I'm comparing myself to you. I wasn't as successful as you are. Growing up you grew up in Southern California, but
Northern California.
Born in Germany?
Yeah, I was born overseas,
So,
yeah.
But you're a military background, and your mom's a social worker, educator,
Yeah.
and reading Rainbow and education is sort of predominant in your view, and then
In my life, yeah.
So did your historical perspective, I mean, did you have a good view of history, like educated with a strong historical view and with roots? Did you understand what that whole perception would be on everyone in the country watching Roots, every week? And, could you speak to like your worldview of history and how educated you were early on?
Well, the good news for me is that the only education I required in order to play Kunta Kinte was to have grown up black in America. I didn't need any further education where being prepared for the role was concerned. That's why I say, when I say I knew how that kid felt, I knew how he felt. I felt like I had not his experience of captivity necessarily, but the experience of being the other, and the experience of being chased, the experience of being unwelcome, feeling unwelcome in a country, in a culture. I knew all of those feelings intimately well. Yeah, I didn't need a degree in Black history to feel that. I had one. You know what I'm saying?
It's feelings that we all have been an outsider.
Sure.
And everybody, especially.
That's why the show is so universally popular.
Included, and
Right.
we all can relate to that.
We could all relate to the sense of family and the importance of connectivity and the indomitability of the human spirit. These are all universal values.
So I grew up in the same time as you, but I ended up being the only white kid in a black school.
Good for you.
You know, like of a few, like 10 kids in a class.
Well, how was that experience for you?
So it was during the same time, and we were watching, you know, the pictures of people, you know, in a riot with the hoses in Alabama, and people were, you know, everybody was protesting the war, and so, I mean, I felt like an outsider, but I felt like, okay, these kids feel like outsiders, but I do too, but it somehow didn't click, you know.
Where and with whom?
I was the outsider in Atlantic City.
No, it didn't click with whom?
It didn't click with the group.
What is not clicking? I'm sorry.
Even though in society, maybe black people were a minority, but in individual social groups, you could also be an outsider, and everybody could relate to that. And these are like, say like,
Is there a question in here? Anywhere?
Okay, so
I'm going to ask you to make it really, really brief. I mean, focus on, and really focus on what it is you want to ask.
Reading Rainbow.
And take a few moments if that's what you need to do.
Okay. Reading Rainbow is an educational show.
Yes.
Mr. Rogers was an educational show. He came on and said, you know, when we had the assassination, this is what we need to do to get through this.
The question.
Okay, so when you did Reading Rainbow, in your early background, how did that relate to kids for inclusion in a group and feelings of being included in a social group? Did you have something in Reading Rainbow that related to that? Or in your other, you know, LeVar, or so your Star Trek character? I mean, we had Gene Roddenberry had all these groups.
Ma'am, I wish I could answer your question. I wish I knew what the hell it was. I honestly do. But thank you for sharing, which seems to have been the point.
I think she was trying to say, your role there, something to make it more accessible for children to become fans of whatever the additional works were in.
Okay. Thanks. That's okay. It's okay.
Well, thank you very much, Scott, dear. Thanks for coming to Ocean City. It's a pleasure.
Thanks, Scott.
The question is, when I grew up, Roots changed everything. Like miniseries. My recollection wasn't a miniseries in the 70s, and all of a sudden we made a miniseries.
It was one of the first, certainly, yeah.
And just so many stars. It was like the week after it came out. That how did it change your life?
Immediately. Yeah.
It just you were just you know you. 19 years old, your world went from just...
It went from 0 to 60 in 6 seconds.
And how did you deal with the popularity? I mean, when you came to Next Generation, it was like we recognized you.
Right.
We didn't recognize really the other talent that was there.
Yeah.
And, you know, how did you respond to that?
You know what I mean? Yeah. I survived. Having a good foundation really helped. If any of us survive the fearlessness as well as the foolishness of our youth, we're lucky, right? We're lucky. And I know that we all have angels looking out for us, especially during those times. Our brains aren't wired to function the way they do when we get a little older and more mature. You know, my granddaughter is 17 right now, and I just had a long conversation with my sister who's raising her, and you know, dealing with a 17-year-old brain is hard because all they want is for you to treat them like an adult, and all they do is demonstrate how immature they are as a human being. It's really kind of maddening. I don't know if any of you have ever been 17 or remember what it was like, or the hell you caused your parents, but trust me, you know, teenagers are hard to live with.
Next question, everyone.
Hi, Mr. Burton. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks for reading to me when I was a kid. My name is Joe.
Joe.
And thanks for making books just seem so wonderful and amazing. And this event is sponsored by what's got to be one of the best libraries in New Jersey. So we're so excited.
How about a hand for the library here? Thank you.
Thanks for that. It really is great. And on behalf of educators all over New Jersey and the world, thank you. My question's about LeVar Burton Reads Live. How do you choose from everything that's out there? What role, what does the process look like? Is there any way I can get my fiction in there so then I can die happy? And also, since everybody's being
it's a lot of questions.
It's a lot of questions.
Yeah.
But thank you.
Okay. LeVar Burton Reads. For those of you who don't know, it's my podcast, LeVar Burton Reads. Anybody listening? Besides Joe? Joe? 3, 4, 5. Thank you, 6. 7 or 8. Well, you guys have homework. It's called LeVar Burton Reads, and I read short fiction. I say at the beginning of every episode of the podcast, the only thing these stories have in common is that I love them. Right, Joe? And I hope you will too. And it's me reading one of my favorite genres of literature, which is short fiction. I think it's hard to write. You make a living as a writer? Right? Exactly. Got it. It's really, it can be soul-crushing as well as sublime. However, it's hard. It really is hard. So I really respect a writer who can tell a compelling story, beginning, middle, and end in 35 pages, with a compelling character and even a twist that I did not see coming at the end. I think it's a form of mastery that I just admire, right? It's like golf for some people, They're actual masters, like with things like Fuzzy, and Curtis Strange is a master. He's a literal master at this thing called golf, which is very difficult to do, even halfway decently, let alone master. Writing a short story is like that to me. It's that hard. So the way I choose the stories for the podcast is my producer Julia Smith and I read a ton of material, a ton of short stories by authors, all published so far. I mean, when I read a story on the podcast, I want people to be able to go and get it. I don't, want to create energy that can't be responded to, that it's irresponsible. So I spend a lot of time reading. I'm focused on voices that we haven't heard before or just favorite voices of mine. It's my podcast, I get to read what I want. And the criteria for me is that I want to read it out loud. For me, reading aloud is one of the most fun methods of storytelling I can engage in. I just love reading aloud. I love it, and I don't suck at it, and so it works out well. But in terms of, you asked about the live tours, I've done 12 cities with a live version of LeVar Burton Reads, but the format has to change a little bit, and so what we've done with the live shows is I pick an author who lives in the city I'm traveling to, and I read one of their stories so that they can be in the theater on the night. And so I read their story and then invite them on stage and we have a conversation. And then we open it up to Q&A. And I do a meet and greet, and that's our evening. It's pretty full. Oh, and there's one other element. There's a musical element as well, because when I'm prepping the story, I think of what musical accompaniment I want to hear when I'm reading it live on stage. And then Julia, my producer, goes out and finds me a local musician and works up some musical themes that they then preview for me earlier in the day of performance, like a couple of hours actually, before performance. And then they've sort of done a rough placement of the musical cues in the story. And we go cue to cue, and if I need to change anything or want to change anything, we do at that time. And then we dance live, and it's so much fun. And I've just loved the pairings of the stories and the music along the way. It's been really fun. Great. Y'all better download my podcast. You can find it wherever you get your podcasts. It's Apple, iTunes, Google, Spotify, Rs19, it's everywhere. Everywhere podcasts are down there.
Question?
My name's Brian.
Hey, Brian.
The first thing I have to do is I have to point out Pastor Mark back there. He's the man who married my wife and myself.
You mean he performed the ceremony? You mean he performed the ceremony?
Yes.
Right. No, that's what you mean. You mean he performed the ceremony. You don't mean he married you and your wife.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And I'm an English teacher, so that was even worse.
Wow.
But anyway,
he's
about to retire, so I just want to say, getting a shout out from LeVar Burton, you got it, man. You can be done now. Well, that's awesome.
Professionally speaking, better this than the other way around, if you know what I mean. Right? Because you sending me off would mean I'm having a very bad day. Say again?
Better to be seen than viewed.
Indeed, sir. Better to be seen than viewed any day. Although I intend to be cremated, but that's a story for another time, I'm afraid.
But my question to you...
Oh, there's a question that comes along.
There is actually, yes. I was watching Star Trek in the early 90s, at college mostly. This was a time when we were just first understanding what a disability really was. Before that it was, yeah, you're in a wheelchair, you're blind, we don't know what to do with you.
We became aware as a society that there was a need to accommodate for a population of us who had different needs and abilities than the normative population.
Yes.
And we did a pretty good job of that.
I think we did.
Right? Much better than we did on the race issue. you feel me?
Oh yes, definitely. Now, I was suffering from Crohn's disease. I hadn't been diagnosed yet, but I kind of related because, as Jordy LaForge, you had the unique position of being, a person in the far future that had a disability.
In the command structure.
Yes.
Right. A man of responsibility and ability.
Yeah. And as an actor, did you feel that weight of responsibility?
Absolutely.
Because like I said, I think a lot of people connected to that.
I felt the responsibility, but the way I frame responsibility is to break it into two words and then reverse them, right? So it's the responsibility, or it's the ability to respond, right, to any given situation. That's how I interpret that word. So it's not so much of a duty, but service. Service.
Thank you. One last thing, and you're probably going to not like me for saying this, but if you could tell Will Wheaton how much fun you had this year, and then if you might want to come next year.
You're right. I don't like you for that question. Absolutely right. You're a psychic in that regard. I'm amazed.
Right there. Comes right there. Please.
Hi, I'm Drew Bergen, and I'm a really huge Trekkie. I love Star Trek. I've seen the movies and the TV show. I haven't seen The Next Generation, but I've seen your movies, and you're really good in it. And I want to ask you a question, if that's okay. What was it like wearing the visor around your eyes? Were you able to see?
No.
You weren't?
No. In a word, no, Drew.
Then how were you able to do the movements? You were able to go to this place, to that place.
Acting.
If I was to be an actor on Star Trek, wearing the visor on my eyes, I couldn't see anything, and I have a hard time doing this with that.
I did, Drew.
Yeah. You did pretty good. I've seen you.
Drew, I was great at it.
Still are great at it. Still are.
I can do things that I can't see better than anybody I know. Drew.
Hand up, sorry.
Yeah. Hello, my name's Kevin.
Hey, Kevin.
I was thinking about shows like Reading Rainbow, Star Trek, Captain Planet. What's one show that you've done in the past that you think the world really needs to have it come back and keep teaching lessons?
Wow. I don't think there's one, Kevin, that I can point to as the one that I want to leave behind, or want to continue. I mean, I believe deeply in the mission of literacy. I believe everybody has a basic human right to be literate in at least one language. I believe that at the very core of my soul, if you are literate in at least one language, then you are free. By my definition, no one can imprison you or enslave your mind. They can hurt the body, but they cannot touch the soul. And if the mind is active and has the ability to imagine, you can get yourself through a whole world of sorrow and misery in this life. So the imagination is really important.
Is there any questions on this side of the room? And right there.
I remember in the 5th grade.
You forgot your name.
Oh, my bad. Hi, I'm Joseph.
Joseph. I love the way you looked at the microphone as if to find your name written there somewhere. Miraculously, what is my name? What is my name? Oh, it's on the mic. No, it's not. It's not on the mic. Oh, Joseph! Pretty nice process.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, during 5th grade, there was a contest in Reading Rainbow where the students had to submit a short story. Were you inspired by any of them?
I was inspired by all of them. You're talking about the Reading Rainbow Young Writers and Illustrators Awards Contest, which were conducted by local PBS stations. I didn't always get a chance to read the essays. Those contests were handled by the local individual PBS stations, but I was a big fan of the idea of conducting an engagement to a contest to get kids to write their own stories. You know, that's where it starts. We all have a story to tell. And we live in a remarkable time, which I think the democratization of content creation, which is to say, if you have a story you want to tell, there's no barrier to entry. The tools are so readily available. You can be a storyteller using a visual medium with a camera and recorded sound. You can do that. No one can stop you. That is an amazing thing, and only made possible in this very modern time, in this modern era.
Just one more question. So, you said earlier that humans can evolve beyond competition.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, maybe we don't, Jeanette. Maybe we are, you know, unable to breed something like that out of ourselves. Maybe it will always boil down to free will. But if it does, we got to start choosing differently, like regularly, like muscle memory, if that's what it takes. I don't know what it's going to take, but we have to start choosing peace and compassion over conflict and war drama. It's just, geez, enough of it.
Was young LeVar Burton not competitive? All the auditions and things that you had to do in your life?
Was I?
Were you not competitive? Or were you not like a person trying to compete against?
Oh man, I'm the sort of person, get me in the room, right? I'll compete. You know, it was weird. I mean, I actually had to go through a process of learning how to appreciate the audition process again, right? Because, I mean, it was very early in my career when I experienced my first success. So, you know, I thought, all right, so I won't have to audition anymore because now I'm famous. Well, no, that's not true. They wanted me to audition, and I thought, well, aren't I beyond auditioning? And that became a real mental trap because I had forgotten that auditioning is just an opportunity to act, to do what I loved. So when I reconnected to that truth, then auditioning became a joy again, right? And now it's like, just get me in the room, right? Get me in the room.
Any questions on this side first? Over there in the blue shirt.
My name's Kevin.
Hey, Kevin.
Nice meeting you.
Pleasure.
Thank you for entertaining my kids throughout their formative years, growing and learning. If you had a chance to do a show or theater, a theater or a movie, who would it be in the past and the present? If you had a chance to do somebody who passed, who would you like to?
You mean who'd I like to play?
Portray.
Oh.
To co-star with?
wow, he's retired now and not acting anymore. Retired many years ago. If I could have worked with Sidney Poitier, that would have been a mic drop moment on the career.
Anybody out there know that?
Oh God, yeah. Whenever I see good acting, or I'm in the presence of it, I want to be in there. You know, there are a lot of people I'd love to work with. I just love to work. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, guys.
All right. I think we have one in the aisle right here.
Hi, I'm Kevin.
Hey, Kevin. I sense a trend.
A little bit, yeah. I have a question. Do you have any advice for anybody who wants to show
And what part of your journey are you?
I'm currently in my first year of screenwriting classes.
Great. Awesome. You seem to have put yourself in a position to succeed. You're actually studying that thing that you believe you have a knack for to fully develop it before trying to get paid for it. It's a very solid plan, I must say. I'd go with that if I were you. You seem to have thought about this. You've thought it through. Yeah. You're on a good path. Yeah. Keep writing. Believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. Really. If you can't believe in yourself, why would you expect anyone else to? Serious about that shit. Okay? Okay.
All right. I think there's a question two rows back. Sam? No, sure.
I did too, but
We can just keep going down the line.
yes, that works.
I can see them.
Hi, my name's Emily.
Hey, Emily.
So I am a cellist, and sometimes I teach. And so there's this concept called proprioception that I always tell my students about, where if you're trying to reach a high note, your body, it's actually an additional sense in addition to the 5 senses. And it's where your arm is in relation to the rest of your body. So that's how you can play these really high notes accurately. So I'm wondering, when you were playing Geordie LaForge, did you
Use proprioception?
Yeah, did you
all the damned time. Yeah, absolutely. I had to learn how to triangulate my position on the sets without seeing my feet. And I had to gain confidence in moving around without seeing my feet. And I had to gain confidence moving around with alacrity because Geordie was the chief engineer. He couldn't be hesitant about anything, even if he was bullshitting. He had to be quick, right? With the story. So the way Geordie moved was really important to me. And I could not look down to see my feet. That would belie the entire conceit of the character. That he was blind, but he had this device, this prosthetic that enabled him to see much more than anyone else around him. However, when the actor put the damn device on, the prop, he couldn't see shit.
Thank you, because now I can tell my students that LeVar Burton uses it proprioception as well.
I love words. you mean proprioception. I thought you meant shit. Sorry. My bad. Tell them about the proprio thing. Yeah, not the... Okay.
Hello there. My name is John, and I have a question about technobabble. Do you have a favorite technobabble term?
Do I?
Do you?
John, I don't remember any of them.
That's fair.
They all went into my short-term memory, which means they left not long after I uttered those words in the correct sequence with the right feeling.
Okay.
Yeah. I will tell you, though, that my strategy for delivering technobabble, I thought, at the end of the day, turned out pretty good. In terms of just, my approach was, spit it out as fast as I can, giving the illusion that I knew what I was talking about. You're welcome.
I'll cherish that.
So if you ever have to deliver technobabble, just remember, fast. Talk fast.
Hi, thank you for being here on the white wall.
The rare Michael. Yeah.
So many other questions came up while we were talking about. One was the card maneuver, and that you had advisors.
Yeah.
But did you have a problem with that getting up? Yeah.
Well, everybody had a problem because the spandex suits would sag when you sat down. So,
Yeah. You had the private too.
yeah, well, you know.
Anyway, my first question was with the captain and the inner light, which is my favorite Next Generation. Did you, besides the holodeck, your engineering associate show, did you have a favorite episode?
Of Next Gen?
Yes.
I don't know. I haven't seen them all yet.
I just remember the captain had his inner light.
Yeah. I think
the one thing was the flute.
yeah, for me, I think it was the episodes that I directed, actually my first episode as a director was Second Chances on Next Generation. And I think that tends to be my favorite episode, because it's where I discovered that I had an affinity. Yeah, thank you.
All right, we have time for one more question. Anybody on this side? One more question?
One more question.
Usually I think two more.
Oh, okay.
Hey, my name's Phil.
Hey, Bill.
I'm a big Star Trek fan, as you before me. But the scenes that you have with Whoopi Goldberg, I thought one of the most fabulous episodes in Star Trek Generation. How was it like working with her?
Whoopi and I would talk about our love for Star Trek, and she became a member of the cast because she wanted to be on Star Trek. She and I felt very strongly that seeing Nichelle Nichols on the original series had a profound impact on the trajectory of our lives, and she wanted to be a part of that legacy. And when I told the producers, they were like, yeah, right. Whoopi Goldberg wants to come and do Star Trek, right, sure, LeVar. And then she called and said, I'd like to come in and do Star Trek. And right. She was, at the time, pretty much the biggest star in the world. Yeah. Pretty extraordinary. But, you know, she loves Star Trek. Yeah. Yeah, Guinan's an amazing character. Amazing.
I have time for one more. Anybody on this side? Gets in.
Hi, my name's Michael. I was just wondering what your favorite science fiction was outside of, Star Trek.
Anything by Octavia Butler. Do you know Octavia Butler?
No, I do not.
Run to your Google search engine and look up Octavia Butler. She's gone now, but she left behind a body of work that is powerful, really, really powerful. That's my recommendation to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. Hey, thank you all very much. I appreciate your time, your energy, your attention. I'll see you next time, but you don't have to take my word for it.
And LeVar will be appearing in 10 minutes in the back. Anyone wants pictures or autographs, he'll be there for the next hour and a half. So come on by and say hi.
Come on by.
Thanks, guys.